welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and today I'm going to tell you about 24 books that I am excited to read in 2024. The key thing to know about this list is I am planning to read more than just these 24 books this year. I've already read 10 books, I have my March TBR that I'm currently working through, and I'm definitely going to throw some more in throughout the year other than this set, but these are 24 books in particular that I am planning to get through this year if possible. There are 7 science fiction novels and 7 horror novels, so that right there makes up 14 of the 24. The other 10 books are from a variety of genres, so I have satire, historical fiction, literary fiction, fantasy, among others. And I just like to add variety to everything that I'm reading, but I definitely am going to be focusing heavily on science fiction and horror this year, which is something that I just wanted to do. Please keep in mind that the order in which I'm going to tell these to you all is not the order in which I'm going to read them. This is completely random, but I am going to kick off this list with Dune by Frank Herbert. Yes, I am a science fiction lover who has not yet read Dune. And Keaton, my partner, is obsessed with this series. He's read all of the books. He loves them. He talks about them regularly. We had the second movie that just came out recently. I don't know anything about the movies. I really don't know much more about the book other than what Keaton has told me, and then I also have some subscribers that during my live shows have told me that I really need to read this. I'm going to make this a priority this year. This absolutely is going to be a book that I read in 2024. I feel like it is just time. Also, this is just a beautiful edition and I love it very much. It was a Barnes & Noble exclusive. I don't think they did this for any of the other books in the series, just the first one, but I am happy to have one that has these beautiful blue spray painted edges and this cover. It is funny to me that the first 2 books I chose were chunkers. This next one is a book that I am planning to read very soon, likely in April, and that is Death's End by Cushion Liu. I want to get to this because it is the last book in the 3 Body Problem trilogy. I just finished The Dark Forest. I have no idea what to expect from this book, to be honest with you. I went in with a lot of expectations into book 2, and it didn't end up being what I thought it was going to be, and I have no idea what the heck this book is going to provide me in terms of a reading experience. So I'm going in with tempered expectations, but I'm hoping that it's good, and it is thick. It's a little over 700 pages. For my next book, I'm continuing my journey into Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. This is the 8th book, Guards, Guards, and is also known to be a fan favorite. I am very slowly working my way through all 41 Discworld novels because Terry Pratchett has passed away. Unfortunately, we're never going to get any more Discworld novels. I am not in a rush to get through them because once I am done, there are no more. So I'm just really taking my time, but I have enjoyed all of them that I have read so far. Actually, Pyramids, which is the last book I read, because I'm reading them in chronological order. I'm not reading them by series or by set. It's in the order in which he wrote them. That was the only book, Pyramids was, that I didn't give 5 stars, but every other one has been perfect for me, and I think that this one in particular is going to be amazing. Up next is a book that you definitely have seen if you watched my Christmas book haul video, and that is Boys in the Valley by Philip Frasassi. This is a gorgeous cover. Absolutely beautiful, and I'm hoping that this is going to be really creepy. I don't read a ton of possession stories, so I think that this is going to be fun. This next book is one that you all didn't even know that I had because it was recently gifted to me by my mom, and when she gave it to me, she was very clear about the fact that she thought that it sounded creepy and she didn't like it. And that is Our Share of Night by Marina Enriquez. And what I think is interesting about this book is it's about a cult, like a deadly cult. So this father and son, they recently lost the wife and mother respectively in their life, and they're going back to her family estate, and they realize where she came from is this really deadly cult. And apparently it's also a story that jumps around in time, probably to tell the legacy of the cult and about this family. And I'm really looking forward to it. It was one of the New York Times notable books of the year. It's also another pretty long book. It's just shy of 600 pages. It's 588 exactly. So another chunker, some thin pages, and I'm hoping a good choice. This next book was a Hugo Award finalist, a national bestseller, an Indie Next Pick, and an Alex Award winner, which should bode well for me, hopefully, and that is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. This book is one that I have been meaning to read for a while. It was recommended by TJ Klune, who I loved his House in the Cerulean Sea novel. I have some other books by him that I'm meaning to read. Spoiler that, one of them might show up later on in this video. This sounds exactly like the type of book that I would devour and love. It sounds like it's hard-hitting, it's got that sci-fi element to it, it's going to be fun, I hope. I have held off on reading this book because I am afraid that it will not live up to my expectations, and I don't really experience that with every book that I read. This is one in particular that I feel that kind of emotion, but I can't have that mentality about it. I want to believe that it is going to be a 5-star book. This is one of those predictions. I'm putting it out into the universe now. I'm going to love it. And there you go. If you have watched any of my vlogs or you found me through my top 10 must-read sci-fi books of 2023, then you know that I am a huge fan of Blake Crouch. I have read Recursion and Dark Matter by him, both of which were 5-star reads. I have a fantastic feeling about Upgrade, so I had to prioritize this year as well. This next book is one that is not a traditional choice for me, and that's mostly because I didn't pick it, not in the traditional sense, and that is White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff. The reason that I have this book is because I went to a local bookstore and they were doing a blind date with a book, where it's wrapped in paper, and they kind of just give a little hint on the front cover of what the book is about. So I had no idea when I bought this what I was getting, and I'm really hoping to like this. I don't really have any expectations for it at all. Apparently it's supposed to be kind of a satirical novel about gossip and living in a tight-knit community where everybody knows everyone else's business, so could be a lot of fun. We'll see. And then, of course, because I didn't get to it last year, I need to read Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I love Ray Bradbury. It's been a hot second since I've read any of his books, but I have a good feeling about this one since it's such a classic. If you haven't seen my cover of it, this is my Folio Society edition. It's beautiful. It's very yellow and bright, and that's something that's kind of fun about it. And I like that this is one of those where they actually put an image on the outside slipcover case, because a lot of times they just leave them blank, as you will see with one of my other books in this pile. So this is a fun edition, and I'm hoping it's going to be a fun read. This next book is a nostalgic one for me, and that is Dragon Rider by Cornelia Funk. I read this when I was a kid. This is my original copy. I have saved it all these years. This edition specifically was printed in 2004, so it's 20 years old, which kind of pains me to think about. I'm going to try not to think about that. But this book meant a lot to me when I was a kid. It had dragons, it had brownies, it had a kid that was on this adventure with them, and I have no idea what to expect reading this as an adult. I have reread books that I loved as a kid, and then I realized that I am definitely not the target age for them anymore. Sometimes you just have to recognize that books are no longer for you. I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy this, but we will definitely see. I promised you all a book by TJ Klune, and I am going with my copy of Under the Whispering Door. I do have a copy of In the Lives of Puppets as well, which was highly regarded last year. I even pre-ordered it, and I still haven't read it, which makes me feel absolutely terrible. So I probably will read that this year as well, but I can guarantee to read Under the Whispering Door because I plan to read the books in the order in which I bought them, and of course this came out first. I also want to note that there is a trigger warning for suicide in here because it's supposed to be about people who have died, so just keep that in mind. But the tagline for this is, "Death is only their beginning." I have a plan this year to have 1 month where I read at least 2 books that were required reads for me when I was in high school, because I don't think I appreciated them when I was a teenager, and I want to see if I appreciate them now. The first of those two books is going to be Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I don't remember disliking this book, but I don't remember liking it all that much either. I know about the symbolism because that was one of the things that we had to cover and study extensively. I had to write a paper about this book, but funny enough, I don't remember a whole heck of a lot about it, so I feel like it's going to be a reread. It's a new experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I feel about it. And the second book, which oddly looks a little bit like the Lord of the Flies copy, is my copy of 1984 by George Orwell. Only because of the color and this emphasis on the eye. I didn't plan that at all. It just worked out that way. But this was another one of those that we had to study extensively, had to write papers, had to analyze everything. I remember quite a lot about it, particularly the ending, so I don't think that it's necessarily going to surprise me, but it's going to reintroduce a lot of the smaller details that I have forgotten about. I really hope that I'm going to like this. We were also required to watch the movie, which was very strange, but also, if I remember, a pretty close adaptation to the book as well, and it had an actor in it that I like. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, but I think that it's going to be positive. This next book is one that you've also heard me talk about in other videos, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, and that is The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White, who is also the author of Hell Followed With Us, and he is a trans author who focuses on trans characters. And so I think that this one is going to be really good. I loved Hell Followed With Us. It was quite surprising for a YA novel. That's the other thing I should note about this is a YA horror story. Don't know a lot of what to expect, but I think it's going to be good. This next book is another one that came completely out of left field. You all didn't even know I had this because it was yet again another book I was gifted by my mom, and that is The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This is a historical fiction novel taking place during the Gold Rush. It was a Man Booker Prize winner, which was originally what kind of attracted me to this book, as I've been experimenting with different prize-winning books and seeing how I personally feel about them. I didn't have any who had won the Man Booker Prize. I'm going to give this one a shot. It is another rather large novel because the pages are thin. Yeah, I just checked. It's 800 pages, so it's a nice thick big book as well. It has mixed reviews despite its, national bestseller, despite its award-winning status, despite the fact that it is listed as a New York Times notable book of the year. There are plenty of people who did not like this. I am not going in with any sort of expectation. I just want to see what the story provides. This next one is a book that I have owned for years, and to give you an idea, this copy, if I look on the inside cover, is from 2013. So definitely not new, and that is Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. I was inspired to read this because Nicole from Noteworthy Fiction just read this and she said that she enjoyed it. I have a feeling that I'm going to love it as well. I don't know why I have put it off this long, but I am going to make myself read it this year and hopefully enjoy it. Coming out of left field again, with a chunky big boy, 600 pages, is The Doors of Eden by Adrian Tchaikovsky. My mom got me a total of 4 new books, which I was not expecting at all, and all 4 of them have ended up on this list, so there's one more after this one. This is by the same author as the Children of Time series. If you're unfamiliar with Adrian Tchaikovsky, I own the first Children of Time book. I have yet to read it. I don't want to start it yet because it is a series, so I thought that this was a good choice because it's a standalone novel. The reason I'm not reading series right now is only because I have some others that I need to finish first, and then I can dive back into stuff that's new. So this is a good choice for me. I think it's going to be fun. It's supposed to have portal sci-fi. I think that there might be aliens in it. Should be a good time. And then that last book that my mom got me is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I will be reading Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, which this is based on. I was recommended to read Poe's original work after reading this one, only because it's an inspired work. They're not exactly the same, but it takes a lot of inspiration from that story, which I thought was a really good recommendation. That way I don't go into it after having read Poe's and just think that this is derivative. So I'll be starting with this first. Very thin, very small, the smallest book actually that I have on this list, and really looking forward to it. This cover is so cool, and the sequel just came out that has, I think it's a horse on the cover instead that also has the mushroom elements, so they're really sticking with that theme. This next book is another that I have owned since 2017, and that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ning. And I also own a copy of Everything I Never Told You, but I wanted to start with this one first because I think that this one sounds the most intriguing. It's also more outside of my wheelhouse than the stuff that I typically read. I will occasionally add a random kind of thriller or mystery to my TBR only because I like to change things up, and this is my example of that for this year, so we'll see how it goes. The next two books are going to be digital copies, and I'm kind of keeping with that theme of stories that I don't typically read, so this next one is also kind of a thriller mystery, and that is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle years ago, and I loved it, and it's one that I have recommended to people, and I want to see if he is consistent in his writing, if he's going to be somebody I can say is kind of a favorite author, or if I'll be kind of iffy about this one, so we'll see. And then after that is actually a book I'm considering to be a stretch goal because it is so far outside my wheelhouse that I really don't know what I'm going to think about it, but everybody keeps telling me to read, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. This is a stretch goal not only because it's a very long book, but two, I really just don't know how I'm going to feel about a classic. I don't read much classics. It kind of worries me. I don't want to dislike it, and that's why I typically stay away from a lot of beloved classics, but I've had a couple different people tell me that I have to read this, and so I'm putting it out there. I'm going to try this year. I hope that I love it as much as everybody says. This next book is one I am curious about only because I don't know anything about the author, but it was highly recommended by Blake Crouch, and that is Cold Storage by David Cope. And when I opened up the dust jacket, I had forgotten that he is the screenwriter of Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, and War of the Worlds, and now he's come out and he's written his own novel. It's about some sort of cold storage mutagen that this investigator thought that there was a biochemical attack, but it turns out that it's this creature that has the ability to potentially extinguish all life on Earth. I think it sounds really cool. I think it's a combination of horror and sci-fi, so that's my favorite combination right there. What's better than horror or sci-fi? Horror sci-fi. Feeling good about it. For another sci-fi pick that you all have heard me talk about before is Under Fortunate Stars by Ren Hutchings. It is a time travel story, which I'm just kind of getting into now. I always thought years ago that I would hate time travel stories, but it turns out I just hate certain tropes in time travel, but this one sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So feeling good about it. Also another example of an absolutely beautiful cover. And last but certainly not least, if I am going to be reading horror, you know that I have to read at least one Stephen King. So what did I decide to do? I went with the next largest one that I had in my collection. I have read all of his largest books already. So I have read the uncut version of The Stand, I've read It, I've read Under the Dome, Needful Things, I mean many large novels. This is the next largest one that I have at 690 pages, Desperation, which has such a cool cover. It's a painted cover, which is not normal for his works. A lot of times it's kind of these images that are superimposed over each other. And I've got this copy actually at a half-price book, so I didn't pay full price for this, which was originally $28, which means I got it for $14. Pretty good deal, and it's definitely an older edition that was loved by somebody before me. Copyright was 1996, so don't know what to expect. I think I'm gonna like it. Funny enough, I am one of those people that when it comes to King's stories, I typically like his books that are longer. That's not always the case. Of course, I love The Green Mile. The Green Mile is not a large book by any stretch of the imagination, but when he takes the time to really flesh out characters and give them a long narrative, those are the books I typically prefer, so I just have high expectations of this, I guess. And that is it. I really hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and as much as I am excited to read this massive stack of books. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.